Hello, my family, caregivers, and supporters. I hope you are taking care of yourself this week. That's right. I hope you are prioritizing your well being and doing something just for you because you are most important. I also hope that you are making the safest and best decision for your loved one. Whatever that looks like for you, make the safest and the best decision for your loved one because your loved one is your responsibility. Okay? And I also hope that you have created a good support system. And remember, your immediate family may not be your support system. Your cousins, your nieces, your nephews, they may not be your support system. You may have to reach out to a coworker. You may have to reach out to someone at church. But whatever that looks like for you, create a support system. Be open. Okay? Be open. Stop saying no thanks. Okay? Say yes, I need help. In what capacity can you help me? Hey, that should be your question every day to someone. In what capacity can you help me? Okay? I wanted to share with you just a few tips to help you in your after. And you may say, Janae, what were you talking about? My after. What is my after? Your after. We all have an after. Maybe you have not experienced the after at this time, but I have. I have experienced the after many times. And each time has been different. It has. But when my mother won in heaven, I also won here on earth. I'll say it again. When my mother won in heaven, I also won here on earth. So in your after your loved one transitions, you have to make sure that you truly take time to deal with your emotions. Suppressing your emotions will only set you up for failure in the future. Will only set you up for impacting your mental state in the future if you don't release your emotions and deal with you. Because there are phases to grieving, and we all grieve in a different way, and it's okay. There is no set manual. Just like when you became a caregiver, you didn't have a set manual. No one gave you a caregiver's guide and said follow these steps. So once you are in the after, no one really gives you an after guide and say, hey, follow these steps so that you can know how to process and how to go through the grieving phases. But you learn as you go. You really do. You learn as you go. Give yourself grace during this phase of your life. If your beloved has transitioned, give yourself grace. Yes, give yourself grace. And pat yourself on the back because you have done an excellent job. Excellent job being their caregiver and focusing on their priorities. And now it's time for you to focus on you. That's right. Now it's time for self to focus on self. I want to just share with you, and I'm sure many of you may know, the phases of grieving, of grief includes anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance, denial, and guilt. If you are feeling like you just can't make it, like the pain in your heart is so heavy and it throbs and you wake up each day feeling the same way, feeling the same way you felt the night before, I want you to know that is normal. I want you to know everything you're feeling, everything that you are experiencing is normal. Because I had to learn that it was normal for me. When my dad passed in 1999, I had to realize that everything that I was feeling, the anger, the hurt, the frustration, that was normal. And then my grandmother passed in 2011. And I had to realize the tears, the hurt that I was feeling because I saw that my mother was hurt, was saddened. And I also took on some of that because I didn't want her to be, depressed or anything. All of that I had to realize was normal. When my brother passed in 2018, unexpectedly to me, to my family, that feeling that I felt, not understanding how a son would pass before his mother, the hurt and all of the whys, I had to understand that was normal. And then along the way, my mother-in-law passed. And so my sons lost a dear grandmother. And I had to help them with their feelings, with explaining to them where their grandmother was now living, where she had transitioned. And all of those feelings that they were feeling, that I was feeling for their grandmother, for my mother-in-law, all of that was normal. Was normal. And then when my mother passed, all of the hurt, all of the loneliness, all of the tears that would flow when I'm just driving, when I'm just sitting at my desk and just tears would start to flow, I had to realize that was normal too. One thing that helped me and continues to really help me with my mom's transition is that because my mom was diagnosed with dementia, during that journey, I was already grieving. I was grieving the whole time because I wanted my mother back. I didn't want to find new ways to enjoy the new journey or our new normal. I wanted my mom back, Yes, I wanted Shirley Ann Evans back. But she had not gone anywhere. I had to readjust how I thought about the situation. I had to remember that God sits high and looks low. And in the midst, I had to really increase my faith and realize that this too shall pass. The mornings will come. Every day was a new morning. So I found ways, even during that process, how to cope. And that's what you will learn to do as your loved one has transitioned. In your after, you will find ways and tools to cope. You will. You will. The people in your support system that was there for you, your family, your friends, resources that I will post, your therapist. If you don't have one, it's okay to get a therapist. I just saw my therapist last Thursday, August the 10th. Bless my heart. Yes, I did. And they give you tools to help you cope, tools to help you manage life, tools to help you be the best you that you can be in your after. Because remember, everyone deals with grief in a different way. We really do. So however you're feeling right now, it's normal. Take that pressure off yourself. Remove the guilt from your heart and from your mind. Stop telling yourself that, hey, you shouldn't feel like this. Everything you're feeling and everything you're doing in your after, because you're missing your loved one, is normal. I just pray and believe that you don't stay in a place of sadness, that you don't stay in a place of pity, that you go through the process and that you come out on the other end of guilt, on the other end of depression, on the other end of frustration, on the other end of denial. You come out, yes, triumphant. You come out victorious. Yes, you are victorious when you come out of those phases. But just know you got to go through. Okay? Don't try to skip. Whatever you're feeling, however you're feeling it, feel it. Be in the moment. Don't try to skip. Don't try to skip over denial when you're really in denial. Okay? Because you're going to set yourself up for failure in the future. And at some point, you will have to deal with it. Remember that. At some point, you will have to deal with it. I wanted to just encourage you and let you know that you're not alone. Even in your after, you have support. Even in your after, there's hope. The same hope, the same faith that you had when you were taking care of your loved one, the same grit that you had when you were caring for them and making sure that they were taking their medications and that they were eating, and that they were enjoying life, and that they were staying active, and that their clothes was cleaned. Everything you were doing as a caregiver, continue to do those things for yourself and continue to take yourself through this process with the same urgency, with the same grit, with the same trust in God. Believing and knowing, yes, that you will have the victory on the other side. Okay? I'm still grieving myself. Yes, I am. But like I stated, there are phases to grief. There are phases to grief. And one other way that I was able to learn how to cope is I had to stop. Of course, I've started back now. But when my mom first passed, I had to stop listening to a lot of the gospel music. Bless my heart. Yeah. I had to, we grew up in a Baptist church. My mom sung in the choir. See, she was a soloist. She would sing all the time. You may have seen me post a video of her singing. There's a leak in this old building. And so I'm just accustomed to just, turning on gospel music. That's the first thing I put on in the mornings. But I had to stop doing that for several months in the beginning because they were triggers for me. They were triggers for me that would take me back to that pit, to that deep, deep pit, to that depression, to that sad place. And I had to realize for myself that I didn't necessarily had to go. I didn't necessarily had to go to the sad place. I didn't have to be sad all the time to miss my mom. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to be depressed to miss my mom. I could miss my mom and be happy and remember the good times, and I didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like the way that the sadness and the depression in the beginning, I didn't like the way that felt too much because my heart was already throbbing with pain. So I realized that was a trigger for me listening to a lot of the gospel music in the beginning. So I had to stop listening to a lot of the gospel music just to cope and help myself. You have to figure out what's a trigger for you, And it doesn't mean that because I didn't listen to gospel music that I no longer like gospel music or I wasn't missing my mom. I just knew I had to do some things to help myself cope, to help myself stay in my right mind. Some things I had to just stop doing. And so figure out what that is for you. And know that it's okay to do that just for you. You don't need no one's approval. Do what you need to do for yourself so that you can find ways to cope in your after. I hope you have enjoyed these tips. Be encouraged. I believe that God will heal you. I believe that He will remove all pain. I believe that He will restore you. He will revive you. I believe that He will continue to comfort you. I believe that He's your shield and your buckler. Yes, He is. Be encouraged. In Jesus' name. Talk soon. Keep living in your right mind.